Week 4 is upon us, and everybody is talking about Miami after their 70-point burger this weekend against the Broncos. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the other Week 4 matchups, and of course, all sorts of props here on the RotoWire Fantasy Football Podcast coming up with Scott Bogman. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Jeff Erickson here with my guest, Scott Bogman, who you can catch at a lot of different places at Betting Pros. You can catch him, of course, just follow him on Twitter. You can see everywhere he goes at Bogman Sports, but he's in the In This League podcast. He does a prop podcast now. He's everywhere. He's here,
a lot
he's
of
everywhere.
places. Yeah. Betting Pros, Fantasy Pros. I mean, you can catch me in this league, of course. A bunch of places. CFB Winning Edge. Yeah, lots and lots of stuff I'm doing.
Yeah. So you're in Texas now. Enjoying your Whataburger, as we talked about beforehand here. We got a lot to talk about, though. This is a busy week. The Dolphins just scored again. So why not start with them? Because it's crazy right now looking at what they're doing. An efficient as a heck offense there. And this is what I think all the stat nerds are like, oh, this is a perfect offense. This is what life should be like. And it actually happened.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was maybe an issue with effort on the Broncos defense about midway through that game, right? So I think that attributed to this, but I mean, Devon Achan. However we're saying it now, it's not Devon Achan. We know that. So
I want to say all aboard the A-chain. I mean, that would have been easy.
I mean, just two A-chain in the membrane, like you can do all the dad jokes, Exactly. So, and none of it works now. But I mean, it's because he's an Aggie, hook him here. So, but anyway, I mean, look, you give that guy a little bit of daylight, and he is gone. He's an Olympic level sprinter. And that's what, and I know it's funny on ITL this week, we talked to Andy Behrens, and he talked about how this guy is 5'8", he's 200 something pound, like barely over 200. He's not a guy that should be getting 22 touches. I don't think he's a guy that needs that many touches. If you give him that many touches, and he's ripping through the defense like that, he's going to have 200 yards. So I think he's a guy that's, you're going to be a dude in the 12 to 15 touch range. And, you want him to break off that really big one. That is what you're looking for, that home run from Achan. So I think that's the type of player he's going to be. You're obviously not going to get this every week, especially against Buffalo. Denver and Buffalo, very, very different. So we'll see what happens with him, but he is my number one most shares player on all of my fantasy teams.
That's sassy.
Yeah, it's pretty satisfying. And I don't really like taking Aggies. I don't want to root for them. I don't have any share. I have maybe one share of Christian Kirk across all my leagues. A team I inherited, by the way. I didn't draft him. But
Mike Evans anywhere?
I do. You know what? I do like Mike Evans. I like Mike Evans because I think he should have got the Heisman over Johnny Manziel.
Absolutely.
Johnny Manziel just threw it up to the 6'6" guy, and he caught it over everyone. So
what a loaded team he had that year too. I mean, there's some serious talent on that team. I love how Achan's gone the whole cycle, like mini camp, turning people's heads. Tyreek Hill's like, ooh, he's as fast as us. Then training camp, not getting it. Then getting hurt. Then healthy scratch in week 1, although it was more like, hey, we need to get him up to speed. Then little glimpses on that Sunday night game where you could see it, to full-blown blow-up last week here. And now here we are. Heading into the week is 59% rostered in Yahoo, which probably speaks to him getting cut after week 1 by various owners, I'm guessing. And let's face it, in a lot of Yahoo leagues, we had 4-man benches. And you guys getting hurt. We had a lot of injuries those first 2 weeks, so I could see it if people had to make tough decisions. But man, all those rookies that get cut early, they make for beautiful pickups later.
They really do. And they've made for some nice pickups early this season too. I mean, Puka Nacua going off in week 1, and, people emptying out the fab. Jerome Ford week 2, Achan this week. It's been a lot of spending early right now, and a lot of empty fab budgets already.
Yeah, I play in a lot of NFFC leagues, and unfortunately, there were none of those. There was no one of that ilk available this week. Really tough week. Achon. No, yeah, right. As if he's out there. But I'm betting on Melvin Gordon. Completely the opposite sort of upside type of player there. No ceiling. Total low ceiling, I should say. Just it's all floor, no ceiling. That's the problem.
Yeah. I mean, that's a tough one. We'll see what happens there. But
I had a league where Josh Downs was available, and I was like, "Ooh, I'm excited!"
All right, Josh Downs. Hey, Josh Downs. For a little guy, the contested catches. I mean, he goes up and gets the ball. He is so much fun to watch. He's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree. He has 24 targets so far. I mean, that's like orders of magnitude more than anybody else. So yeah, I was hopefully I got him. I haven't had a chance to see the results yet, but we'll see about that. Buffalo, Miami this week, huge game. Buffalo had a triumphant game of their own that nobody's talking about because everyone's talking about Miami, but they murdered, death, killed Washington, made Sam Howell look terrible, and they're starting to find it a little bit offensively too.
Yeah, I mean, those 3 Jordan Whitehead touchdowns were not going to be a trend. That was very weird game for Josh Allen. You don't see him making those type of mistakes. I mean, he'll get a little wild and sling it. He's definitely a Farvian type of QB, right? Just grip it and rip it on occasion, but not to that extent. So glad to see him get back on track. And I mean, the difference I feel like between Buffalo and Miami and why Buffalo is favored outside of just being at home, the defense, the Miami defense that I like a lot. And I have shares of all over the place in my non-IDP leagues. I am not impressed by what Miami has been doing on defense recently. I mean, yeah, sure, you control the clock and you still give up 20 points to limp Russell Wilson team. I don't like that. And I don't know, man. I kind of like the Bills in this game.
Yeah, and they could have given up more points in that game too, by the way. We had a drop touchdown pass by Cortland Sutton. We had an overturned touchdown. We had a couple of bad fumbles in that one there. Miami forced one of those, I would say, but the other one was kind of like, it should not happen type of fumble.
Minnesota Vikings type fumbles.
Yes, exactly. So. Exactly. The chargering. I mean, you get the chargering versus the Viking, and the Viking prevailed, but you had to deal with that. But I like the Bills too. We do a pick every game against the spread for a column each week. The thing I hate doing is we have to submit it early Wednesday morning before the first practice report comes out. But
yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah, but it is what it is. And I did take the Bills in this one here too. So I feel though like this is either going to be like the Bills reminding everybody that they're alpha, or it's going to be changing the guard. I guess that's a pretty. I'm really going on a limb by saying that, but I feel like this is a very pivotal game.
This is a tough division, and if the Jets can figure out a solution at quarterback, which I don't know what it would be. I mean, they're just never going to let Colin Kaepernick back in the league. So that's kind of a joke. But maybe Carson Wentz, I don't know why they haven't reached out to him. He's got to be better than Trevor Siemian, and anything's better than Zach Wilson right now. So I would try to go out and get him. Maybe, you've heard the Kirk Cousins rumors, possibly. I don't know how they'd make that work with the cap after all the money that they had to have Aaron Rodgers save them. It's just, there's a lot to work out there. But I think, even maybe if Zach Wilson could get better, I don't know how. Sometimes things just click for a guy at some point, and they don't seem to be clicking for him at all right now. So it's not like clean up a couple things and now he's good. He needs a lot of work. It's still a lot of work. And everyone talked about how much better he looked and all that stuff. And it would have been the funniest thing in the world if Zach Wilson had come out and looked like an MVP candidate, because they made all this whole big deal about Aaron Rodgers. And then if Zach Wilson was great, that would have been awesome, but it just ain't happening. This division is going to be tough because New England is just, you never can count New England out, which I hate. They're bad. I don't think they're a good team, but you just cannot count them out.
They're so unfun to watch. You need like 11 plays to score every drive.
Like watching Air Force.
It's tough. Might you be interested? Can I interest you in a Ryan Tannehill?
No.
To the Jets. No.
I mean,
he looks pretty Tannehill.
I think, if Tannehill was good, I think the Titans would be pretty dangerous. They have a strong defense, good running game, decent targets. So after they added Hopkins, the offensive line is going to take a big hit with Skoronski having the appendectomy today. But I mean, that team is not bad. So I just don't think Ryan Tannehill is the guy And I think he's the missing piece. So you move him over to the Jets, who are maybe the Titans on steroids a little bit. You're going to get the same crap. So no more Aggies. No Aggies.
Yeah, there you go again. It did kind of force that in there. That's right. I was just thinking because I think Minnesota's going to be loath to give up on Cousins because I see them in this NFC North, which, the Lions look pretty good. The Packers have some things that going for them, but I don't think they're out of it yet. And I think it's going to take a while. And Cousins is actually playing well, too. That's the other thing.
So good. I mean, he was so good against Philly. I mean, he was taking rib shot after head shot after back shot. Like, he was getting smacked every play against Philly on that Thursday night game and still dropping in dimes everywhere. He played excellent that game. They just could not stop Philly. So it brought him all the way back, screwed my bet. I definitely took the Eagles at halftime -6.5, and I got hooked. So, but Cousins looks good right now.
Yeah, he does. And that was the thing. I thought for sure, okay, they got up the couple scores. I thought, okay, as I was on Philly as well in that game, and I was like, okay, we're good. And then they just kept on coming back. Of course, then again, we were lucky to be up 2 touchdowns anyhow because of the Jefferson fumble right before halftime.
Yeah.
The pylon fumble there. God, it's still my least favorite rule in football.
I think they should switch it, honestly. I think if you fumble it and it goes out of bounds, not through the end zone, the other team should get the ball, not through the end zone. No one recovered it. So I don't know. Just take the ball back. I think that's a dumb rule.
Back where they fumbled it. I mean, that's really where it should be. But anyways, all right. Back to Buffalo, Miami. Where do you put Mostert? Where do you put Achane this week?
I mean, I've got them both decently high. Let me just double check my rankings here. For Mostert, I think I just have him outside. No, I have him at 12.
Okay.
I mean, I just think he's the guy. I think he's going to get most of the action. Achane, I put at 26. I put him below Najee, which might be my homerism. I put him below Rashad White and James Conner, which obviously might change now that he's a little bit questionable.
Every week.
I mean, yeah. But I have him above like Brian Robinson because I think Philly just is going to dominate TOP again. I'm ahead of Dameon Pierce because they just can't get anything going with that offensive line being bad. So I have those, Mostert is a 1-2 borderline guy and Achane's a 2-3 borderline guy to me.
We're pretty close. I've got Mostert 7 and Achane 22.
Okay.
So
I'm you're
a
firm
more bullish on Mostert. But
yeah, you're firm 1 and 2, where I'm like borderline 1 and 2.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's pretty close. Pretty close there. Any props you like from this game?
From this game, I kind of just want to see how this game plays out. To be honest with you, I don't hate that it's too low on the rushing yards for Mostert. Over 52.5 rush yards, I think is a little too low. I think he's definitely going to hit that. Another one that I keep going back and forth on that you'll probably love how granular I'm getting here with this is Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis' longest reception is 20.5. And the reason that I kind of like that is because the Dolphins will blitz their safeties a lot. They will bring Javon Holland down in the box a lot to blitz him. And I was looking at last year, how much he played in the box or on the line versus in both the games, because they won the second one and he played like 60 of 67 snaps at free safety and didn't come off of it. And they won that game barely. And then they barely lost earlier and he played like 30 snaps at free safety, a little bit in the box, some on the line. Like they were moving him. He was a chess piece all over the place and they lost that game. So I'm a little indifferent on it because I am such a big Javon Holland fan, but I think you gotta make Allen make a decision fast and make a bad decision fast. I think they'll blitz him a lot. I think Gabe Davis gets one big one. So I kind of like that one as well.
I want to find an Eli Apple pass interference prop because I think that's like coming in for sure. I don't know.
He's in the concussion prop right now.
He was cleared. I saw a note on Monday saying he was fine, but we'll see.
I think he practiced in full today and he should go. But this is what they do. Like Jalen Waddle was in the concussion protocol and he practiced all Friday and Saturday. And then they're like, nah, you're still not out.
Yeah.
So who knows with you? I mean, he sucks.
Well, it is Miami. It is Miami and all the history they have with Tua, so they probably have to be extra careful. So
yep.
That makes sense. I just wanted to, as a Bengals fan, I have to mention Eli Apple and him, the likelihood of him getting that call. But anyways, all right, we're going to talk about other QB ranks, other ranks here, but in a second. But first, we're on the Blue Wire Network. Here are their ads. All right, thank you for your patience there. Happy to be on the Blue Wire Network. We've been there for a couple of years. Great studio in Vegas. Great time, great platform to be on. So thank you for that. Let's talk quarterbacks this week. Note on Joe Burrow. Was a full participant in today's walkthrough. They're kind of monitoring him day to day in practice, but he got through Monday night. He gritted it through, but he also threw 49 times. So, they're kind of like all in. Let's go. We're gonna do what we can to get through this season with him.
Yeah, and I worry about it, because another calf injury, and he's probably going to go on the IR.
Yep.
So,
yep,
it's a little bit worrisome, but you just have to roll the dice, I think, if you're the Bengals, and hope you can get to the bye week with him upright and, get a little bit better every single day. I definitely took the over on Joe Mixon rush attempts and yards, and I got both of them, but I don't know if you saw this. Did you see Joe Mixon got to 70 yards rushing? His prop was 64.5. He got to 70, and then he lost 3 and he lost 2. And I was like, don't give him the ball again. And they did.
Trevion Williams came in for the third down play. So you were like, yes.
Yeah. Well, I was, lit a candle at the altar of the God of stat corrections just to make sure we didn't lose another yard or anything because of that. But we got to 65. We secured the win and a little cash on that. So that was nice. But yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of Joe Mixon. The defense played hard for the Rams. But even with 49 pass attempts, you only put up 19 points against the Rams. Is kind of disappointing. The Rams are much better than we gave them credit for coming in. So are the Cardinals. They've screwed being survivor, which dropped Welsh and I to second in pentathlon, of course. And that was my call too. I was super adamant about it. So Welsh lets me hear about it every single time,
of course,
which is a lot of fun. But
you're second. I'm third right now in pentathlon. By the way, for the people who don't know what the pentathlon is, Derek Van Riper from The Athletic came up with this idea 5 years ago, and we do 5 different things: an auction league, a best ball league, Survivor, picks against the spread, and DFS. And you guys jumped out of the gates.
Came in hot. Yeah. Came in hot. We're in second right now, but that auction team is doing pretty good for us. We got 2 in Mahomes, so
yeah, that'll do. Super flex league.
Yeah, it's been pretty nice. But so I forgot where we were going with that, but I hate.
We were on Burrow. Sorry, I kind of.
Yeah, no, it's fine. But Burrow, look, I'm a little concerned, but if he's out there, you're rolling him. You're going with him. Obviously not this week. I didn't. I started Minshew ahead of him because he played on Monday, and I didn't know if he's going to play, and that ended up being the right decision. He had more. Minshew had more points. But if he's out there, you're rolling him. He's Joe Burrow still.
Yeah, I've got Burrow at I think 11 this week. But again, I don't think I have any of the guys I have ahead of him. Someone might have Jared Goff and Burrow. Maybe in a super flex you would have a couple of them, but come on, all the guys that are ahead of them are guys that are on other teams anyhow. So it doesn't really matter if I have them at 11 or at 5. I'm not gonna have them at 5, but
I got him at 8. I'm right in the neighborhood.
So. Yeah, it's a pass funnel against Tennessee. We know this. You can't run the ball against Tennessee very effectively, so they're gonna have to have 49 attempts again.
Just keep Jeffrey Simmons and Harold Landry off his back, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, I may or may not have seen him get sacked 9 times and still beat the Titans in a playoff game before. That was awesome.
Not with an effed up calf. You get
it. Now he gets sacked 13 times under that same rush. That day was crazy. Of course, that offensive line.
Off of him. Keep Jeffrey Simmons off of him, please.
Yeah,
that's what we want.
Yeah. Just give them enough time to exploit those DBs. So we'll see. It's third time now in 3 years that they've played at Tennessee, by the way. So
it's weird scheduling.
Yeah.
Don't like that.
Yeah. But hey, it's okay.
That should be a pretty good rivalry, right? Like if you were realigning the division, Cincinnati and Nashville, Tennessee, they would be in the same.
A lot of Bengals fans were at that playoff game. A lot of Bengals fans. It's not. There's like a 4.5 hour drive, if I recall correctly. So not too bad at all. And yeah, I think teams that respect but probably dislike each other. But the problem is the Bengals have that in their entire division. I mean, it's, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, in Baltimore. You can't get rid of any of those either.
I was glad when Tennessee got out of the North, man, because Eddie George was terrible to face twice a year for Pittsburgh, and Derrick Henry would have been bad too. So
yeah, for sure,
no fun
for sure. And Vrabel's a hell of a coach.
He's
much respect for him because he gets the most out of that team for sure. CJ Stroud, rave reviews so far for his play. Really playing well, over 900 yards passing, no interceptions, despite not having an offensive line. He pounded the table at the draft for Tank Dell, and he's been right. So he's also a scout, also. So good on him. But he faced the Jaguars last week, who have 5 sacks for the season. Faces the Steelers, who lead the NFL in sacks. I think it's going to be a much different story this week.
Yeah, he's not going to get Mississippi's. He's going to get Utah's this week. Yeah. So it may not be great for him, but they're going to give them help against TJ Watt, of course. But the problem is Alex Highsmith didn't get anything last week, by the way. Donut, not a good week for him. But I think he's going to be back in action and, wreaking some havoc here. And Keanu Benton, who's filling in for Cam Hayward, looked really good as well. So that's going to be difficult, but the Steelers secondary can be had. I mean, I don't know how Patrick Peterson's rating is so good on PFF. He is terrible. He's old. He also talks smack. I don't like anything about him since he's been in Pittsburgh. He's been awful. And Levi Wallace holding the game ball because he got the pick against Jimmy G that was thrown right to him after getting torched by Davante Adams all night long was comical to me. The secondary outside of Minka Fitzpatrick is bad in Pittsburgh. Hopefully Joey Porter Jr. gets a little more time, get him some seasoning. So we'll see. But yeah, CJ Stroud's been great and they can't run the ball. So they have to pass. And he's been answering the call and he's been very, very good at it right now. He could have another good game against Pittsburgh if they can keep the defensive ends off of him. So I'm very, very impressed with what we've seen out of CJ Stroud so far.
I think it's going to play out a lot like the week 1 against Baltimore, where he's running for his life too much. He'll make those plays, make some third down conversions here and there. He shows poise, but he's gonna have ample opportunity to show that poise. Unfortunately, I think that's going to be the problem there. But but Patrick Peterson, I still like Ayuk put him into the spin cycle so bad. I mean, that was that's I hate it when the milk goes bad on a top level cornerback, but when it goes, the whole league knows pretty fast.
Yeah, he is being picked on right now, and he should be. I mean, in zone, fine, but he can't man anybody up at this point. I mean, maybe even move him to safety. I wouldn't hate that. So
yeah, I'm with you on that. One more quarterback I want to bring up, Trevor Lawrence. Been disappointing so far. But I don't think it's on him. I think it's we saw Ridley have 2 bad drops so far. What's your take on Trevor Lawrence right now?
Working through it, it's adding Calvin. It's a lot of pressure this year too. They're not sneaking up on anyone. So I think just a little rhythm of getting this thing right. Nose Jones also hurt. So I don't know. I think that he's going to be fine. And I don't it's 3 weeks that have kind of been meh. So you do start to worry a little bit, but the only guy that I'm really dropping this early in the season is Fields because he's just not startable, right? That's the guy that I am very concerned about. Everybody else, he's making me queasy, but I haven't thrown up yet. So we're okay. Be some Pepto this week and have a good game against Atlanta. Make everybody feel better. That's what we want.
Give Calvin Ridley his revenge game.
He should have 200 yards. That's exactly. He should have 200 yards. AJ Terrell's a good corner though, so we'll see.
Although Calvin Ridley's got to do his own part and hold on to the damn ball.
Yep.
And not get false starts. That would be a nice start too.
That's part 1 of the job is catch the ball.
Yep.
So.
Exactly. So I have Lawrence still in my top 10 this week. In fact, someone commented you're still betting on the upside. Yeah, I still am. I have him at 9, head of Burrow this week. By the way, I had Stroud at 17 this week. Moving up, but
that's exactly where I have Stroud is at 17. I have Lawrence at 10. So just 1 spot below you. So same neighborhood.
Sharing a brain. I like it there. Let's share a quick note from our friends at Rival Fantasy. If you're looking for a place to play head-to-head fantasy football games without the huge tournaments, salary caps, or complicated game types, then Rival Fantasy is where you want to play this NFL season. From a twist on a classic game with Fantasy Bingo, where players generate a lineup to complete achievements and get bingo, to head-to-head fantasy challenges, where you'll pick which of two players will score more fantasy points, this is the best of fantasy sports. For the 2023 NFL season, Rival Fantasy is offering new users a $200 deposit match, plus a $25 first play voucher. Rival Fantasy is so confident you'll love the experience, they're giving you money to play out of the gate. Experience the future of fantasy sports on Rival Fantasy and become a rival today. I'm here with Scott Bogman in this league, among many other fantastic podcasts. Before we move on to running backs, I forgot to ask you, Scott, your favorite quarterback prop for the week.
All right. So for this week, I like the Sam Howell under 213.5 passing yards. Look, just Philly dominates the ball. So I think it's going to be hard for Sam Howell to hit this. He's great options, and Philly gave up a lot of passing yards before last week, and maybe I'm overreacting to what they did against Tampa Bay. There was some weather and stuff, and Baker turned into normal Baker outside of playing really well the first 2 weeks. So, but they're just dominant, and they're getting better. And, DeAndre Swift might have another 150 yards, and he looks good. But even if he looked like Najee, he would be getting 150 yards. You know what I mean? Like, these holes are gigantic that he's running through. So I just think Philly sits on the ball too much, especially late. And I think it's going to be a hard time for Howell to get there. I'll take the over on the CJ Stroud passing yards, 240.5. I just think even late, he'll have some big hitters. Tank Dell will get a big one in there and boost that total for him. Jalen Hurts over on his passing yards, because once again, they'll have the ball the whole game. So it's 235.5. He may not need that many yards for them to win, but he's been hanging in the pocket a little bit and taking some deep shots for some big yards. That's what he did against Tampa Bay. And I think he likes it. It's putting up a bunch of points right now. So I'll take the over on Hurts as well.
All right. Very good. And about Howell too. I mean, boy, did he look like a rookie quarterback. I know it's year 2, but bad decisions, poor job getting rid of the ball on time.
I mean, that Bernard one. Good Lord. What are you doing, man?
Exactly.
It's almost that. Is that worse, or was the field screen that Shaq Barrett caught and ran in? Which one was worse?
It's funny. Even if Barrett wasn't there, that play was going nowhere, because there was a guy ready to tackle that too. The reads were awful. Play calling was awful too, by the way. Just everything was awful there. I think I'm going to say Fields was worse, but it's close. But
I think it was bad on too many levels. It was a bad call. It was too predictable, and you threw the pick. It was just awful.
Yep, and it basically ended the game. Matt Z asked Geno Smith or Justin Fields. I'm going to go Geno this week against the Giants.
Oh yeah, me too. You can't run Fields out there until he puts it together. You've already done it 3 weeks. Go get yourself
such a tough call, because it is Denver. I mean,
it is, but I think Denver's way better than Chicago. So,
I'd agree with that.
Not in super confidence, but I do think they're better. So,
which is a perfect segue to running backs, because I want to talk Javante Williams. One of the positive takeaways from, I think, the game against Miami is how good Javante Williams looked on a couple of plays. There was a screen pass there. He's breaking tackles, making cuts, had a couple of good, tough runs. I mean, it's hard to, take, too many positives. Marvin Mims, okay, you can take a positive from his performance, but Williams actually looks like he's getting there. I'm getting kind of bullish on him. I think you're going to want him soon. I don't know if they ever take the shackles fully off in terms of workload, just because it's the first year back from a major injury, but this is a good week against the Bears.
Yeah, I think you kind of have to. You have to at least get him over 50% of the snaps, because he hasn't had that yet. And I think when you're Sean Payton and you were just embarrassed, right, and you have a chance to win and get your team fully off of that horrible, historically bad game and get them on a new track, you got to put the ball in the hands of your best players. And I think Javante is going to have a huge week because of that. I think that's exactly what he's going to do. And I think he's going to get like at least 15 touches in this game, and he looks really good. And the Bears' run defense is obviously not good. So their whole defense is not good. So I think that Javante is going to break out this week. I think this is the week for it to happen. And, the further he gets away from the injury, and, they said all the right things coming in and medical miracle. And I was skeptical, because we heard the same crap about J.K. Dobbins last year.
Yep.
And then he comes back and it's too early, and he starts on the IR, then he's back on the IR, and blah, blah, blah. But Javante, like you said, if you watch him, He's making the cuts. He's making the plays. He looks good. He doesn't look like he's running in sand or anything crazy. He looks awesome. So I think you got to get the ball in the hands of your best player this week if you're Sean Payton, and your best player is Javante Williams.
I've got him as a top 10 back this week. I'm very bullish on him.
I think you might be a little more positive than I have him at 17.
Okay, fair. Oh, and you know what? That's fine. I'll say this. There's so few running backs I trust these days. So few. So many bad situations right now. Speaking of which, Derrick Henry. Oh, let's talk about looking like running in sand. Now, he was dealing with a toe. He was up against the Browns. I get that. But
it was rain, game script, too many excuses for me to take this seriously about Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, there are too many excuses. But how many of those excuses are going away?
I mean, the rain and the game script, I think those both go away this week. So, look, he's Derrick Henry. He's a freak of nature. So I'm not going to panic over this. Now, look, are they phasing him out of the offense? Is that what they're trying to do by giving Tyjae Spears more snaps, or are they trying to keep him healthy?
It might be a little both.
I think the game was lost. So I wasn't worried just even 2 weeks ago about Henry at all. My radar's up a little bit after this game, but it's just I can't give up on him yet. And I know running backs go and they go, but Derrick Henry is in that Adrian Peterson category of indestructible for the most part. So I'm pumping the brake on Derrick Henry panic. If he does nothing this week, if Tyjae outsnaps him again this week, then it's probably not just Derrick Henry panic. It should probably be Titans panic as a whole. But I can't panic about Derrick Henry yet.
Well, you mentioned
I also don't have many shares of him, so I'm not that worried about
I've got a not like it was an auction share where I was value buying, I guess. And I hate it when I do that in an auction league where I'm like, oh, it's stopping here. I can't let it stop here. I'll price enforce and then I'll get him and then I'll blow my entire budget on what I really wanted to do and the players I really wanted to get. So I'm kind of living through a nightmare there on that one. It's the RotoWire stake league too. So if I end up poorly on points there, I'm going to be buying stakes for people. So I'm not really looking forward to that, but we'll see. I have Henry at 10 this week. So I'm not completely down on him, but it's lower than I normally would have him.
Yeah, I've got Henry. I've got him at 7. So I guess I got him ahead of James Cook. Maybe I could put Swift ahead of him because I'm so bullish. Yep. But I mean, he's still a top 10 back to me.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, how Tennessee starts really matters in this one against the Bengals. If they're behind, that could be trouble for him again.
Will the Bengals offense keep them in it? Because they could absolutely rip apart the Titans. No one would be shocked, right? Yeah. But if they're not completing passes and Joe Burrow just doesn't look right, you keep Tennessee in it. They like playing in those close, nasty games.
They do, and they've had 2 of them against the Bengals in the last 2 years. So I mean, there's familiarity breeds contempt, also breeds good games too. So I was a negative Nancy on Derrick Henry. I'm very positive about Zack Moss so far. Second most broken tackles in the league. He's only played 2 games. He's catching wheel routes. Who is this guy?
Well, the reason you don't know about Zack Moss has always been this good since his days at Utah, right? Yep. Had a major injury in college, looked slow coming in the NFL. Further he gets away from that, he looks good. But this is what Zack Moss does. He will look great for a month, 6 weeks, whatever. You'll wonder why he's not getting more carries. You're not wondering that for the Colts right now. And then he will absolutely get hurt. I mean, this is what he does. This is so many running backs too.
This is Raheem Mostert. Yeah.
100%. I mean, great analogy. Raheem Mostert will look amazing for a couple weeks and then go out for the year.
Yep.
And what is happening with JT? We haven't heard hide nor hair about him. So what is going on? Like, is he working to come back and play with the Colts and get out of this contract, go sign somewhere next year? Is he holding out to prove a point? I don't know, but we're going to figure it out next week because he better start showing up or he's going to start getting fined. So, I mean, we'll see what happens with JT next week. So, because if JT comes back, who cares about Zack Moss? He's not JT. So, he looks great right now. I would love it if he was able to stick, but I just, I don't know. I feel like the JT and he's going to get hurt. If I can trade him right now, maybe I'd do it.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I do have JT in 2 leagues, one of which I drafted before all this shenanigans started in July at the RotoWire conference that we do in Vegas every year. Yeah, I felt good about that one there, and Burrow on that team, so yeah, fun
Probably in
time.
your first round too, huh?
Yeah, of course, end of the first round, and then running back hero plan, so turned into 0 running back instead, but, at least I have a bunch of wide receivers that I like in that league, so I've got
There you
that
go.
going for me. Um, let's ask about your boy Najee Harris. I thought it was gonna happen against the Raiders, it really didn't. Can it happen this year?
Yeah, there's two things going wrong here. Number one, he's not a burst guy anyway. But he looks really slow right now. So hopefully that improves. But beyond that, I mean, they are not putting him in a position to be successful at all whatsoever. He gets every single up the middle, up the gut run, and Jaylen Warren is getting thrown out to the flat. He's getting plays in space, that kind of stuff. Najee made his own space last week and cut it back the other way and got like 12. This is best run of the year. And he still looks slow when he was doing that. So, I do think that they can get it back, but Matt Canada is going to have to call better plays that aren't so obvious. I mean, I'm not sure if you saw the whole.
I've heard that before.
Yeah, right. I'm not breaking news here. Did you see the whole Warren Sharp breakdown of the predictability of the Steelers offense? It was like, if they're in a shotgun, they're throwing it. If they're under center, they're running it. It's the most obvious thing in the world. They changed it up a little bit against the Raiders, and the offense looked a little better. Big play to Pickens, all that. So I don't know, man. I think it definitely can, but he's not a burst guy. He's not going to be a big play guy anyway. That is why Jaylen Warren is there, is to be the big play guy.
Yeah.
He is your meat and potatoes up the gut and then make a guy miss, jump over, hurdle someone. Like that is where Najee stands out, is being shifty and breaking tackles. And if you can't get past the defensive line, you're not going to break any tackles. And that's kind of where we're at with him. So I do think that he's better than given credit for. I think his elusive rating was somehow better than Jalen's on PFF too, by the way. And it was top 10 as well, which I don't know what they're looking at because he's not elusive at all.
Maybe he's had so many to elude. I don't know.
It could be. Yeah. I mean, maybe that's it. He hasn't been eluding the ass of the offensive lineman in front of him much. So, I mean, they just need to put him in he needs to be better, and they need to put him in a better spot to succeed. I think it's a combo of things. And, but I mean, if they start blocking better and he still can't do it, then give the ball to Jalen. I mean, running backs are too cheap, too easy to come by to be running bad RBs. So I love Najee, but if he needs to get it together, and they need to do better for him.
One more running back before I ask you your favorite prop. Alvin Kamara comes back this week. What sort of role does he have?
8 billion carries. Give him all the touches because you don't want Jameis Winston throwing picks. I mean, he's not coming off an injury. He's been healthy. He's been rested. So let's give him the rock, man. I mean, you don't want Tony Jones. You talk about meat and potatoes. Yeah. Tony Jones is just potatoes. I mean, no meat at all. Kendry Miller is too young right now to give a heavy workload to. In my opinion, I mean, he could be good with a full workload, but he came in, he's behind, he's been banged up. Let's take it easy on him for a second and get the vet these touches and carries. He needs to be a big part of the offense this week to open things up for Jameis and give him some easy throws underneath too, so he's not throwing it into triple-double coverage, which he will. He's Jameis. We know that's going to happen, but just can't let him do it too many times.
So I was pretty cautious in my ranking. I might move him up a little bit there, but I'm worried about the passes, and I'm worried about goal line carries, obviously. The specter of Taysom Hill just hovering over us there. Every fantasy analyst is like, ugh. That's
Taysom Hill. That's the Taysom Hill noise.
It is. It really is.
Do something with them.
Favorite prop this week for running backs?
We talked about the most hurt one. I mean, I'm obviously over on the DeAndre Swift yards, 63.5 minus 110. I like that. Miles Sanders over 17.5 receiving yards, most targeted running back in the NFL so far this year. Looks like maybe Bryce is back for that, and that's a nice little outlet for him as well for Miles Sanders. So I like the yards. Usually I like the receptions, but I like the yards here. Receptions, I think it might be 2.5, but I think the juice was like minus 160 or something like that. So it just wasn't a good bet. but I think you definitely maybe put it in a parlay or something. But Khalil Herbert over 42.5 rush yards, also against the Broncos. I mean, we saw the Broncos run defense give up 8 touchdowns to running backs last week. So I think Herbert could have a pretty big game.
All right. Very good. Before we hit wide receivers, got to share our next note here. This one's from Bettor Vision. I think we can all agree that fantasy sports are awesome. So is daily fantasy and sports betting. That's why I have so many accounts. What's not awesome is going to a bunch of different apps to find the best odds and manage all your fantasy lineups. Enter Bettor Vision. That's Bettor Vision. Bettor Vision is the only app that syncs all your fantasy, DFS, and sportsbook accounts in one place. We only show you the best odds for every bet, so you always get the best value. And our dashboard is the only one-stop shop to track all of your fantasy matchups, DFS picks, and bets. Visit bettervision.us to download Bettor Vision today. Here with Scott Bogman, we are going through all the kind of looks for week 4. We're on to wide receivers. And I got to ask you, what are you going to do with Davante Adams if Jimmy G doesn't play this week?
I don't care. Start him. Davante Adams is QB proof to me. So not many wide receivers are. Most of them are conditional to the quarterback that they have. But I mean, every quarterback's thought should be, I don't know, throw it to Davante. So it doesn't really matter. Maybe he has a bad game if it's Hoyer the Destroyer, Aiden O'Connell, or whoever comes in here. But Jimmy is not good. So whoever his backup is probably right behind him. So I don't care.
I think I'd prefer O'Connell, and I don't think that's actually a particularly unique observation or opinion. It might be a careful what you wish for sort of thing.
Hoyer is my age.
Live fire. But yeah, Hoyer I just feel like is I think he is the Trevor Siemian range, where I don't view him as an upgrade over a bad quarterback, really.
No, I don't know. I am surprised that he is not an offensive coordinator somewhere at this point. Like, he's too old. You know, he's better than Johnny Manziel because he watched film, but nobody else. Remember, that was who he was fighting for that job, was Johnny Manziel. So
that's right.
Cleveland. So I mean, you know, Hoyer's been around the block, man. Like this guy's experienced. That's why he would get the start over the rookie. But I do think, you know, if Hoyer doesn't do anything for a quarter, it's all right. Let's put in the kid, see what he's got. I think that's what they'll do.
I kind of like. I'm trying to fight the urge to take the Chargers in Survivor this week. Because the charging has been fierce and many times, as it always is. But at some point in a long season, and especially in Circa, where we have to there's really 20 weeks, not 18, because of the Thanksgiving and Christmas slates, you're going to have to take them at some point in time. We're in the top 20 teams in football, for crying out loud. I don't know.
I just I'm already out, so don't listen to me, but I always just take the most obvious win. I don't worry about what's going to happen after this. Yeah. No, I took the Cowboys, so it didn't work for me.
Yeah. I thought the Chiefs were the most obvious, and I thought the Jaguars were a trap. And come on, the Chargers are fool's gold. So I'll probably end up taking the Niners.
Who makes worse decisions, Staley or McDaniels?
McDaniels.
Yep. That field goal was so stupid.
I think they were saying that's the only time in the last 5 years since they've been tracking it that anyone's kicked a field goal in that particular trailing 8.
The cowardly rating or whatever it's called.
Yeah. 4th and 4. I mean, come on.
Pathetic choice. Not good. Go for it.
Did it twice.
A little bit.
Yeah. Reprieve.
I'll even give you the first one, right? Because there's 3 minutes and 18 seconds left at that point. Like, you have 3 timeouts. Steelers offense is bad. Like, I'll give you that one. But the second one, after you burned a minute off the clock, was just so if you're 4 yards away, you're 8 yards away from the score. Just go for it. What are you doing? I mean, just such terrible decision. This is a
bad franchise. It's a really bad franchise.
Yeah.
I mean, they're trying to clean up from the mess, the Gruden mess. But I mean,
it's always a mess. There's always something.
Yeah. Well, it starts at ownership, probably.
Yep.
Well, there's like 7 franchises like that, maybe 17. I don't know, but it seems like it. But all right, another guy I wanted to talk about, T. Higgins. I don't think I know he had a good game against the Ravens, so I can't be too like broad sweeping here, but he was actively bad on Monday night. And I don't think he looked like he was getting a whole lot of separation against the Browns in week 1. Now, some of that is the routes he was running, the conditions, blah, blah, blah. So maybe I can give him a pass. But, man, those drops were bad. I I know he's got the contract situation hanging over him. Sometimes the career year thing works against you.
Sure. Yeah, it might be pressing. He might be pressing a little bit. But I mean, T. Higgins is a good wideout. Like with guys like that,
I might be being a self-hating Bengals fan here.
I think a little bit because he's not old enough to be declining. I don't think.
Right. Agreed.
So I think it's just a bad stretch for him recently. You're right. He hasn't looked good, but I am fully confident that T. Higgins will get back to it and be better. It's just, how good is Joe going to be? This was not his fault. He should have caught many passes. You're absolutely right. Because I watched a lot of that game rooting against your Bengals, of course, like you root against my Steelers every time they play. We do the same thing.
I respect that.
I was come on. I was like, but I do have a lot of T. Higgins shares. I'm like, catch the damn ball, man. What are you doing? So it is frustrating, but sometimes you gotta allow a guy to have a bad game or two. You don't want him to, obviously, but you're not benching him,
No.
So I think he's gonna be okay.
Massive game against the Titans last year. Massive. Now Chase was out, but he owned that. And that was like anytime he was on solo coverage, they went to him, and including the game-winning touchdown in that game.
It's like how the Raiders, like any decision they make is going to be bad. Like it doesn't matter. Like how you have the bright sunny path and the dark scary forest one. It's just all scary forest for the Raiders. Like there's no bright path anywhere. For the Titans, whoever they draft a corner is going to be bad. Whoever they sign a corner is going to be bad. It's like a Titan curse. Their corners are terrible. They have been for a long time. And T. Higgins going to eat. Jamar Chase, these guys going to eat this week. As long as Burrow can stand upright and get him the ball, the O-line keeps him upright, I think they're going to be fine.
Yeah, as long as we're not watching this game in Jake Browning vision, I think we're good. Garrett Wilson, what would you accept in a trade offer if you're holding Garrett Wilson right now?
Oh man, are we talking dynasty? Like, because I'll take a first round pick for him, but in a redraft, I don't know. Like, how far down the wide receiver range would you go? I mean, would you take T. Higgins? I don't know.
Yeah, I probably would. Because at least we got to think that at some point, I mean, Burrow could get re-injured and there is that risk, obviously, but he also could get better over time. And
how about Pittman?
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I
think that's about as low as I'd go because Garrett Wilson's skill is way higher than Pittman's.
Yeah.
Zack Wilson is tough.
Pittman over Wilson. I have Pittman 22, Wilson 25 this week. I have Cortland Sutton over Wilson this week. Nico Collins over Wilson this week. It's kind of rough.
Yeah, I think I have. Yeah, dude, I have Nico a spot ahead of him too. I put Garrett Wilson pretty far down there into the wide receiver 3 territory because I mean he had 8 targets and 2 catches. I know it was rainy and windy and nasty and blah blah blah, but I don't know. You're playing the Chiefs now. How long are you gonna have the football if you're the Jets?
Right.
Not long. This is going to be a big TOP game where 38 minutes to 22 is going to be in favor of the Chiefs. So. I mean, hope he catches 5 and gets in the end zone. That's what you want from Wilson this week.
I've got Wilson at 25.
I'm at 29.
Yep. DJ Moore and Terry McLaurin right behind him. So that's a weird neighborhood to see him, but it is what it is too. Because I don't think it's
because if he had Aaron Rodgers, he would be at 11. You know, but that's every wide receiver is conditional to their quarterback. So,
favorite wide receiver prop for the week.
Well, we talked about the Gabe Davis one. I like that one a lot. I'm with you on Cortland. I got him over 54.5 receiving yards. The Bears secondary is bad. Eddie Jackson, Jaquan Brisker, Jalen Johnson, all banged up right now. I don't know who's going to play out of that group, but it doesn't matter. Like Cortland Sutton has the most targets by like 10 for the Broncos. And I liked him. I got a lot of shares of Cortland Sutton too, because they talked about him in the Michael Thomas role. The 2019 Michael Thomas role, it's like, okay, well, he's not going to go out and average 23 points a game and, be Cooper Kupp and all that stuff that Michael Thomas was that year. But can he get 150 targets? Because if you get 150 targets, you're probably finishing, I think, at least at wide receiver 13. And he's pacing out to be right around in that range. So I do like him. It's over 54.5. And, Steelers like to give up big plays. Take that Tank Dell over 44.5. I think that's a pretty good one too.
I like it. I like it a lot. Football is back. Kick off the NFL season with vivid seats and score tickets to all the hottest matchups and biggest games of the year. Catch every pass, every tackle, and every heart-pounding play of your favorite team live and in person. And with Vivid Seats rewards, now you earn rewards with every single purchase. Each ticket you buy gets you closer to your reward. Just buy 10 tickets, then simply cash in your credit towards the 11th ticket purchase. It's that easy. Plus, Vivid Seats is offering you $20 off your first $200 ticket purchase with code RotoWire. That's code ROTOWIRE. From the 50-yard line to the upper deck, Vivid Seats has great tickets for all the 2023 games that matter to you. Just visit vividseats.com or download the app today. I've used it for baseball tickets on multiple occasions. It works great. So highly recommend it.
Gonna have to check it out for the D-backs potentially making the playoffs. I might go. So
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, hey, today was a very good day if you're a D-backs fan. They win just comfortably. Brandon Pfaadt looked good. The Reds lose. The Marlins split, and the Cubs choke a lead again. So
it was a good day. And you didn't even mention the best part. Release Zach Davies. Best part.
Oh. Would you say that they would ghost him, maybe?
Zing zong. Love it. Yep. Goodbye. See ya.
Yeah. Tough look, but yeah, he earned it. Tight ends, Sam LaPorta. Everybody loves Sam LaPorta. It's just a question of how much. How much do you love Sam LaPorta?
I was the highest ranker in the preseason on Sam LaPorta. I had him at tight end 11 going into the season. So look, the rule about tight ends is as a rookie, you usually don't want him, right? Because it's too much. You got to learn how to block Myles Garrett and Max Crosby and TJ Watt and all these crazy defensive ends. You got to learn how to run crisp routes. You got to man up you got to speed past these linebackers, man up these safeties. Like it's so much to learn in year one that they're usually behind the 8 ball and they usually don't get on the field because they're whiffing blocks and getting their quarterback killed. So, but Sam LaPorta played at Iowa where 90% of your job is blocking for the run game. So he knows how to block. So that's down.
They are a tight end funnel. They are.
It's what they do. It's tight ends and linebackers and linemen. That is Iowa, man. No quarterbacks. So, and this guy he's a matchup nightmare. So yeah, I'm big on Sam LaPorta. I kind of like the over on his yards this week as well. Not as much as the Welsh. So I'm letting the Welsh have that one because he's become a big LaPorta guy too. LaPorta's great, man. And especially with Jameson down and always hurt. Like I am less concerned about his boneheaded gambling on the team facility. Like who can keep up with all the rules? They're all stupid. Right. Like, but also don't gamble. Like don't gamble at work and you're going to be fine. Go do it at home.
This is also an Iowa comment, by the way.
Yep. But I mean, just don't do it at work and you won't have any issues. So I'm less concerned about that. More concerned about the fact that he couldn't make it through camp without having 2 injuries for Jameson. Yeah. So
and being criticized for not being able to catch, which again is a prerequisite for the job.
Got to do it. Yeah, it's job number 1. So my favorite movie quote for that thing right there is, remember in Apollo 13 when they're trying to figure out what systems to lose to save the energy? It's like, well, get rid of the parachute, something. He's like, well, John, if the parachutes don't go off, what's the point? Right. So if you can't catch the ball, what is the point of being out there? Go be a corner. You know what I mean? So that is number 1 part of the job. But LaPorta has been great. He's a number 2, might be the number 2 option, not even the number 2 receiving option on this team because Amon-Ra is number 1. Yeah. So he might be the number 2 option right now with David Montgomery at less than 100%. And I mean, maybe it's Josh Reynolds here, Khalif Raymond there, whatever. Like there's no one else breaking out. I think LaPorta's their guy. And I think they've replaced TJ Hawkinson seamlessly and maybe even better. So
and cheaper. That's for sure.
Definitely cheaper. 100%.
Yeah.
So
Sam LaPorta is what we want Kyle Pitts to be.
Yes. 100%. I mean, so
the usage wise, at least. I mean,
get him somewhere else. Just get him out of that offense.
Free
please.
Kyle Pitts. Exactly.
Yes.
So I have LaPorta 6th this week, and that might even be cheap on him. I have him like behind Ingram.
I also have him at 6.
Yeah. And Kittle, Andrews, Hawkinson, and Kelsey ahead of Waller, which, that's flying in the face of, all that happened in fantasy Twitter in the preseason and draft season.
I do have Waller ahead of him this week, but I think if you're the Giants, seems like they're probably going to be down Saquon again, which, by the way, on Monday night is just going to be so aggravating. So it's going to be like, oh, do I get Saquon or do I have to start Zach Charbonnet? Which I think Charbonnet could be okay this week.
Or Matt Breida.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I don't hate myself that much. So
I actually have a league where I had to start Breida last week, and he gave me just enough. That touchdown was beautiful, but
see, I didn't have that spot anywhere, and I should have, because I have to start him would have been Achane everywhere, and I didn't. So
no.
Yeah. I best ball pentathlon. We had him in best ball.
Oh, there you go. You're fine there.
6th or something.
I have a lot of Mostert in my life, so that's good at least.
It helps. Having Miami running backs right now helps. But yeah, for Waller, I think just what I said about Denver. You get the ball in the hands of your best playmakers. I think that's what the Giants have to do this week. I think you got to find a way to quick passes, let Waller do it, hit him over the middle. I think Jalen Hyatt needs to be on the field way more as well. For God's sake. Like I thought the way they were talking up Paris Campbell, I thought he's gonna be pretty good. I have a decent amount of shares of him. He's been awful. He's been nothing. So I mean, and they can't keep. You want to talk about bad O-line play? I mean, the Giants have been miserable on the O-line, and
they lost 2 guys on short rest against the Niners, so I'm kind of willing to give them a little bit of a thing.
Yeah,
but then week 1 against Dallas was just.
And Dallas is good too. So maybe there's something, but they lost Arizona. So they're not that good. So, I mean, I just, you got to get the ball to your best players, and you have to have your best players on the field. No Saquon this week, most likely. I think Waller gets 10 targets. So that's why I have him ahead of LaPorta this week.
Okay. Fair enough. I can see it. I mean, I have him at 8, so it's not like that far behind.
Yeah, you're not killing him.
And chances are, if you have Waller, you don't have LaPorta. If you have LaPorta, you don't have Waller. So it's not really a decision. I mean, if you drafted Waller, you're not drafting another tight end unless you're in like pentathlon where it's double tight end. But otherwise, that's probably not an issue for you. One other thing, though, I just got to say, this isn't about rankings or anything like that, but this is the 4th game of the season. This is the 3rd time we get the Giants as a standalone game. Thank you so much, NFL. Really appreciate you for that. And the Jets on Sunday night. So all this, just stop with this.
Flex starts next week. They're allowed to do 2 games between 5 and 10 for Sunday night. I didn't know this. I had to look it up. They're allowed to do 2 games between weeks 5 and 10, and then after week 10, they can do any Sunday night they want to flex. So, because I have that Fantasy Pros show Sunday night, but if the Steelers are playing Sunday night, I'm out. So I was out a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, it's probably not going to happen again for the rest of the season. They're playing so bad. I don't think they are popular, but I don't know if they're getting flexed this Sunday night.
Yeah, probably not. So, but then again, Tomlin only gets them better by the end of the season. So
that's true.
I'm giving that. Favorite tight end prop this week?
Yeah. So let's go with Dalton Kincaid over 23.5 receiving yards. I think that total's too low, especially if this is going to be a shootout. And I think with all the defensive players that are questionable going into this game, and a couple guys are going to be out as well. I mean, maybe no Jalen Phillips. I know a couple guys in the secondary. Yep. I think Poyer was questionable. Taron Johnson is questionable. There's just a bunch of players questionable in this game. I think we're going to have a nice little shootout. So I think that Kincaid should see more than 23.5 receiving yards. He's been getting like 6-7 targets a game. I think pretty good. And just as TJ Hawkinson over 48.5 receiving yards. I mean, until they say they're going to run the ball more than 10 times a game, I think you just have to keep taking this TJ Hawkinson one. If it's under 50 yards or under 5 catches a week, he's just going to get it until he gets hurt. So he's been really strong. So I think I'm going to roll him out there as well.
All right. Very good. Yeah. Okay to rip through a few of these questions?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right. We got a lot of them here. So let's just jump onto it here. InSavvy says it's a 10-man 2-flex PPR league. Start 4 only. Kamara, Swift, Lockett, Walker, Cook. This is not good podcasting to just list all these, by the way. Cook and Kyren Williams. So 4 out of Kamara, Swift, Lockett, Kenneth Walker, Cook, Kyren Williams. Keep in mind, it's a 10-man league. That's why he has these choices in the first place.
Walker, Cook, Kyren, Swift.
All right. Very good. Running back heavy, but there you go. So, hey, you get those backs, you use them there. All right, let's roll on. Let's hit up Ron. He says, would you guys trade Bryce Young and Roschon Johnson for Kyler and Charbonnet in a dynasty PPR league?
Oh, I think I would. Yeah. And I'm a Texas guy. I love Roschon. I think Bryce Young is pretty strong too, but I don't know that he has the upside of Kyler once he comes back. Maybe Kyler's not good anymore. I'm not sure. A lot of QBs coming out in this class though as well. So maybe, take Kyler and take a shot on someone. But I do think Charbonnet is just probably a better back than Roschon.
Yeah, I think so too. You're starting to see him get more usage. He was the guy, the closeout guy against the Panthers.
Roschon could be the guy for Chicago.
Yeah.
And Charbonnet getting a little more usage as well. I think Walker is good, but I think Charbonnet is pretty solid as well.
I think so too. Coco says, which two should I start between Henry, Kamara, Moss, and Sanders?
I'm still going with Henry. And out of that group, probably Moss. Moss has looked good. So
me too. All right. Julio says, trade Jameson for Thielen, a full PPR. Would you do that? I'm assuming this has to be a dynasty format because in a season long, you're definitely doing that.
Yeah. Redraft, I pull the trigger. In dynasty, there's not a chance. So
I think I agree with, but I think it's an easy decision whether depending on their format there.
100%.
All right. Michael says, I'm in a 3-flex league trying to decide who to start. Options are Henry, Moss. Here we go again. Same guys. Judy, Brian Robinson, Dobbs, and Connor. So I think we can stipulate Henry and Moss. Who's your third?
Man. I really like Connor.
All right.
It's going to have to be Connor. Yeah, because I think he's just better than the rest of them.
Yep. Related. Flex, Connor or Tutu Atwell coming off his biggest usage game.
That one's tougher, but for me, look, and I know Connor came up on the injury report today. He's going to be fine.
He always does, though.
Yeah,
it's almost like a wait for them. It's like Pete Carroll putting Walker on the injury list all last season in the second half of the season.
I think you're going to see guys that go through that stuff. Mechie is always going to be questionable and all that stuff. Like it's hard on your body to go through all that. So, so these guys are just going to keep popping up. Connor's going to be fine. I just want the guy that's going to get more hacks at it, and running backs almost always get more hacks at it. So Tutu is a fine play. I wouldn't be like, what? You play Tutu over Connor? You're nuts. But I just want the guy that's going to get more hacks at it, even though it's against the Niners. Who's more likely to score? It's definitely Connor. Give me Connor.
Yeah, I think so too. Lindorfin says, down real bad at running back, lost Chubb and J.K. Dobbins. Would you go to the seemingly arid Kelly well or run Jalen Warren out there? I guess it kind of depends if Eckler plays or not, right?
Oh, yeah. If Eckler plays, you're not rolling Kelly. He's looked like you want to talk about guys that look like they're running in sand. Kelly definitely does.
He looks so good in week 1.
I thought Isaiah Spiller was going to be so good. He's just not fast enough for the NFL. Yeah. Like Isaiah Spiller can do everything. He has great vision. He runs routes well. He catches the ball. He can block. He's just slow as crap. So you just can't do it. I think Jalen Warren.
Okay. And then follow-up question from Lindorfins is Eagles defense versus Washington or Chiefs at Jets. Both good options, obviously.
Great options here. This is either one is fine. I would say probably the Chiefs. I just think Zach Wilson is. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think Zach Wilson is more likely to throw interceptions than Sam Howell. So maybe they're gonna try and give the ball to Brees a bunch because that's like the only possible out you have against the Chiefs if you're the Jets is to keep Mahomes on the sideline and run the clock down and try to make it a low-scoring, gross game with your good defense. But it ain't going to work. Give me the Chiefs.
Look at how they're running the ball. It's just not very well at all. I mean, it's been painful taking someone beautiful like Brees Hall and ruining him. But, Disco Dave says, has to carry 4 running backs. I hate these leagues where you can only take X number of players at a position.
I don't like it.
Has Ford, Moss, Algier, and Warren. Would you rather have Spears or Bigsby instead of Algier or Warren?
No, I mean definitely not Bigsby. He's just a goal line back. So Tajay is the question. But I mean Atlanta runs the ball too much for me to want Tajay over Spears.
I agree.
And I don't know, like Warren or Spears is coin flippy to me, but Najee's look so bad. I think it's more likely that Warren takes over for Najee than Spears takes over for Henry. So I would stick with Warren.
All right, there you go. Unfortunately, we can't get through all these questions. We just, we just appreciate the metric ton of questions. But I got My man, he's on Central Time here right now. Scott's on Central Time.
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming on board today, especially because I screwed you up in a little bit of short notice. And you're a busy man in this industry, so appreciate your time, Scott. Tell everybody where they can find you and when.
Yes, and no worries at all. I know you'll return the favor to me,
Absolutely.
so I appreciate that. Yeah, follow me on Twitter at Bogman Sports. You can find me doing shows for In This League, of course, with the Welsh, and over at Fantasy Pros with the Welsh and Joe Pisapia Betting Pros as well. CFB Winning Edge with my guys Nick Allen and Xavier Trish. So yeah, just follow my Twitter. You can find all my work. I appreciate everybody.
All right. That's going to, I'll hit up a couple of these questions after the live pod here. I'll hit them in the chat, but want to thank Scott for coming on board. Coming up tomorrow, we got Mario and John as always. Thanks for listening to the RotoWire Fantasy Football Podcast. Have a good night.